Good morning to everyone and welcome to our TCS broadcast. I'm your host Manuel.
And I'm his co host, Joshua.
Let's go right into the news.
Now, there are a lot of things that we stress and worry about in our lives, but there is one thing that all Americans were worrying about, and that was this past election. The main reason people stress over the election is because one thing we all want is a leader who can lead this country in the best way. The two candidates were our Democratic President elect, Joe Biden, and our incumbent Republican President, Donald Trump. Election day was November 3rd, 2020. However, votes were still being counted throughout the week in states like Nevada, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. It was looking pretty close at first. That's when, on that Saturday, Biden had 290 electoral votes to Trump's 214 electoral votes and won the election. Congratulations, Joe. I can't wait to see the plans you have to contribute and help rebuild the country. I also want to congratulate Kamala Harris on being the first female vice president in the United States. Trump, I wish the best for you. I know it hurts, but sometimes you just have to lose. It's okay to lose.
Thanks, Joshua. However, Donald Trump apparently doesn't understand that. Trump is not willing to give his power to Joe Biden because he thinks the election was stolen from him. During the election, Trump repeatedly questioned the legitimacy of the vote count in Pennsylvania, Nevada, Georgia, and Wisconsin. With no evidence, Donald Trump has tweeted saying that there is no way that mail-in ballots will be anything less than substantially fraudulent. This has influenced a lot of people to go out and protest on the streets supporting Trump's fallacies. Till now, Trump hasn't shown any evidence to support what he's saying. At Republican National Committee headquarters, White House press Kylie McEnany made a press conference restating that the election was a fraud and trying to stop a state's official to certify Biden's victory. However, when a reporter asked if she had hard evidence about what she was saying, McEnany avoided a question saying, "Well, what we are asking for right now is patience as we explore these equal protection claims, among others." My opinion about these serious accusations is that you should not talk or state something in public if you don't have evidence about it. It's really important to remember how much influence you have on people that support you. This applies especially to this type of situation. The accusation Donald Trump made is really serious and could turn the future of the country in a whole different direction. In conclusion, I think facts should always be over fallacies.
That's right, Manuel. Leaving that news aside, Joe Biden is already making moves to help with the problems of the United States that needed to be handled in the first place. One thing that Joe Biden is doing to bring a solution is proposing a 13-member coronavirus task force to help solve this COVID-19 pandemic. This task force will include health professionals and experts, and Biden already stated that he plans on keeping Dr. Anthony Fauci, who has always been working nonstop to try to figure out the solution to controlling this pandemic. Joe Biden also plans on selecting Ron Klain, his Democratic attorney, as his chief of staff. Joe Biden has also been working on not only keeping the Affordable Care Act, but wants to make it an option for all people. So he has planned a week-long focus on healthcare. So I think it's a good idea that even before being put into office, he is already making plans for resolving the country's issues.
Thank you, Joshua. This has given hope to many people that are going through hard times because of this pandemic. By the way, Joshua, do you know what's going on in Venezuela?
No, so why don't you tell us?
Alright, Venezuela's crisis is been happening for a long time. Hugo Chavez had radical and socialist ideals to make Venezuela a more equal and successful country. Imagine knowing that you have millions and millions of dollars right under you and you're not even able to get enough food for your family or you. This is exactly what is happening here. It's true that Hugo Chavez made a lot of contributions to society, such as getting most of the population able to write because most of them were illiterate, and decreased the poverty. On the other hand, he was openly socialist. And he even said that we don't want to be rich, being rich is bad. He said this based on what Jesus said once about rich people not being able to go into heaven. With no doubt, his biggest mistake was trusting Nicolas Maduro and letting him govern after his death on March 3rd, 2013. Maduro has gotten the country in terrible conditions: poor salaries, hate towards the military, major poverty that has ever experienced, poor education levels, lack of food, medication, etc., are things that you can find in Venezuela in the actuality. This has affected the other nations in South America by receiving massive migration from Venezuelan people going to countries such as Peru, Chile, and Colombia. Illegal drug and gold trafficking has been increasing because of the lack of security in Venezuela. Many criminal organizations have migrated to other countries, and this has affected a lot to other nations' security. An example of this is what happened in Peru. A Venezuelan gang brutally dismembered a Peruvian that apparently owed them money. They recorded a video of it and posted it to intimidate people there. It's been a long time since I heard any news from Venezuela, and it's important to remember that these type of issues are happening, and countries like the US should intervene to stop the violent dictatorship of Nicolás Maduro.
Thank you for that information on Venezuela. I think it's good for us to understand that there's stuff happening outside of the US, and we should be informed on what's going on. So on Friday, we had a conversation on the new book we are currently reading called The Anti-Racist by Kwandwani Fidel. The significant thing about this book is that the author is from Baltimore City. So everyone in the classroom can relate to what he's talking about in their own way. The Anti-Racist is about how racism back then is still going on today, and the ways our generation can change the racist ways of the country. It talks about upfront racism and institutional racism. Institutional racism is racism throughout the system. Now, in the classroom, we were going over how the system of Baltimore City has affected us in school, how the police department handles certain situations in the wrong way. We also talked about how the system needs to do a better job in helping poor lower class citizens and our poor neighborhoods. One thing I'm going to say about the book that is important is having a seat at the table, which is exactly what the author says. Protesting has been working back then, and it still works today. But as we see in these streets, it doesn't go too well for the people doing it. I believe the way we can get a seat at the table is by more people in our generation getting into office. More people in our generation who are actually going to provide for this country. I'm not talking about the adults. I'm talking about me and you as the kids of this generation. We should not just let things be, but we have the power to change this country for the better. You don't even have to be next to the president or be in office, but you can become an activist in your own way without being in the streets getting into it with the police every single time. Make your voice heard in your own way.
I'm really enjoying the book so far. It's really easy to read, and it makes you empathize with all the events that happen through the book. The books that are able to make you feel in the character's place are the best. Hey Josh, guess what happened after the conversation?
The art class, right?
Well, of course you already know because you were there, but for the ones that weren't there, after the conversation about the book, something unexpected happened. After a long time, we had our first art class in the year. The main instructions to our drawings was to draw something meaningful or something you feel can give others a message. The previous conversation and the calming music playing in the background helped us to get the motivation we needed to create new things from our imagination. I'm pretty sure I can speak for everyone that was a calming moment where everyone enjoyed being at.
Now, we would all like to send a shout out to TCS student Darrell Moon, a senior at Howard University now. We would like to send him a shout out for completing the prestigious Patricia Roberts Harris Public Affairs Fellowship. Mr. Tom was honored to attend the closing ceremony on Friday. Congratulations, Darrell. We are all proud of you. Now we would like to thank everyone who donated a lunch.
Thanks, Miss Karen, for those cold cuts on Thursday.
Thanks to Ronan's mom, Miss Janae, for those tacos and rice on Monday.
And thank you, Miss Peck, for the quesadilla, salad, and fruit on Tuesday.
And that's it for the news. I'm your host, Joshua.
And I'm your co-host, Manuel, and this is your news. See you next week.